Hello, welcome back to our Pokemon Battle Python tutorial. In this episode, we're going to create some message system and some button interactivity. You click on the moves and it will use that move. When you meet a wild Pokemon, you walk in the grass and this battle sequence begins and the message shows a wild something appeared and what will you do? That's the next message. And you have to choose moves. And that Pokemon used this move and deals damage and the opponent attacks and so on. So that kind of interactivity is what we want to achieve. So we can do that by making a message system and a button system. So they go hand in hand, and that's the most difficult task in this game. So we have to think about how we're going to structure this, and this is related to the optimization of the game. So if you do this inefficiently, then it'll be slower, and if you do it efficiently, it's not going to be as bad. So this part is where programmers actually practice and refine so that they use less and less lines to achieve the same thing. That's our ultimate goal. But here, we're not going to worry about it that much. To review a little bit from last time, we created a class. So our name was draw UI. And again, class is not something difficult. Class is just a bunch of variables grouped together. And if they're a set, if they're forming a group, we tend to use class for efficiency. So what were the groups of the variables in draw UI? It was the name of the Pokemon and the rectangular HP bar and the HP value, right? And if I draw a little game screen here without the text box, so there's Pokemon 1 and 2, and there's name, HP bar, HP, same thing here and here. So these three elements, one, two, three elements, are a set. So we call this draw UI 1. We call this draw UI 2, for example. Then they're kind of like a group. So when you move these around, you can move it all at the same time because this is treated as one element. So that's why we tend to use class for efficiency. Remembering this, thinking about the message system. So again, message is an in-game text box message. So I'm talking about if you remember playing Pokemon, there's Pokemon 1, Pokemon 2, HP bars and stuff. And what's being displayed here? Um, for example, a wild Onyx appeared. What will you do? You used tackle, you know. So basically that's the message system. And I'm using a class, but you don't have to. This is basically the programmer's choice. You can make it into a function and do that, but to me, it makes more sense to create a class, and here's why. Um, we're not going to make a lot of moves here, but I will give you some freedom to make your own moves to test things out. But you're going to be adding a lot of move in the future. Then these moves affect the message. What does that mean? So let's say you're making a solar beam. The solar beam has its unique message. What is that? So how this works is you waste one turn, you accumulate light energy by photosynthesis, and your second turn you deal a lot of damage. That is solar beam. So then this requires a specific message, you know, about photosynthesis. So these moves should be able to add a message here. So your message is not always the same in order. So for example, a wild something appeared. That's going to be the same, right? And unless you're making a gym battle. And then what will you do will be the same. That's going to be the next message. And then you choose something. So you used something. And then the next opponent will do whatever they want. But if this move requires a specific message, then the next message is all dynamic. It changes depending on what you use. So these messages are not always the same. It's not always static. So we need to be able to add these texts in some sort of variable. And it makes sense to create a class because these are all different elements. So for example, this is a text, this is a string. This is called a string. A sentence is called a string. And this is also a string. But remember, what will you do involves buttons. You choose 4 buttons, right, in this game. We're not going to create bags and use items and stuff like that. But these require each will have its own text inside, which is the move name and the rectangle. So there's a rectangle element. And there's more strings, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's a lot of other strings in here. So these are all kind of grouped together, and these are always changing. So rather than a function, it makes sense to create in class. So and under this class, we can think about its functions. For example, in terms of this new move solar beam, we have to be able to add a message. So if my cool move involves a special message, I should be able to add into the queue of the message and display it at the right time. And also when you click on the message, you should be able to clear and show the next message. So there's going to be a lot of functions involved. And also you have to create these buttons. You have to show it at the right moment. You have to draw the buttons like that. And also, if this message is shown, when you click, it shows the next message. When you click, it shows the next message. This kind of indicator, so let's call that an update message. So discard the old message, clear out, and show new message. So coming back here, we're going to create a message system class. I'm going to delete this one here. So we tested this last time to figure out the coordinates where we should put the in-game text. So it's going to be 8750. We're going to remember that. And after that, we're going to delete this one. So going all the way back here, we define the UI class. So right after here, I'm going to create a new class now, which is the in-game message. In-game message. And I'm going to call it message system, like that. You have to define the initialization. So we do that here. So init, like that. And what we need is a queue. So instead of creating just a string variable, we need to save the strings. Queue, like that. And then you can create a list by doing the square brackets. To explain a little bit about list, list is basically what queuing is. So what is that? There's a variable here. It could be a number, it could be a sentence, and there's a next one, there's a third one, there's a fourth one. So you're saving them all. So when you add more sentences, it goes in the back, and in the back, and so on. So this is the index that has a 0. So this is the first message, 0th message, whatever. And when you add them, according to this structure, you're adding it at the end. Okay? You use append function to add more and more to the queue. And when you clear, this is the current pointer, if you will. Then when you clear this current, it's going to be cleared like that. And then when you update, when you call update, this will move on to the next one. And when you clear again, you click, this is cleared, and you have to update like that. And when you want to display this message, you call draw right after updating. So this line of variables is called a list. So to explain a little bit further, what is a queue? This is a list of strings. So list of sentences. If you have a little knowledge in math, this is 1 by n matrix. If I draw it, it's going to be like that. So V is a string variable. So current message, next message, and so on. So we need to be able to store lots of sentences. That's why we need a string. And the current message will be just a string. So we don't need a list. And the next one is, of course, we have to display the current message. So let's call it draw here. And self is the stored variable. And how do you draw? We remember the coordinates. It's 8750. So we're going to use this draw text we created last time. This is displaying the in-game text, right? So here, draw text like that. And of course, you can see it here, text, color, coordinates, that's what's required. So what is the text? The text is what's stored here, self, and it's the current message. And then the coordinates, the color, and then the coordinates, which was 8750. A problem with this is we're not going to do it any more complicated way, but if this is too long, it's going to go off screen. So to counter that, we need a little more complex mechanism, but we're not going to worry about that here. There's not going to be any long message. So keep message short. I'm going to put a little comment here, and that's going to be the drawing. And what's next? We need to be able to add a message. So add it to a text. So we need one more parameter here. One more. And what is this? We're adding a string. This text is a string to this queue right here. So how do you do that? Then self, we're adding it into the queue. And when you add to a list, you use something called append. So this is adding it to the next queue. And what are you adding? You're adding this one right here, the text. You're putting this and storing it in self.queue. Okay? And you got to be able to clear the message upon clicking. There's no clicking here yet, but you got to be able to clear the message. Then what is that? Then self current is an empty string. That means there's no message. Okay? And then one more thing I can think of right now, I may come back here, update, You got to be able to update. When you click, you clear, and you have to put the arrow to the next pending message. So that's what we're doing here. We need a little if statement. So basically, if there has to be a pending message, and the current message must be empty. That's what this is saying. I'll write it here. So current message is empty. Why is it empty? Because it's cleared. When it's clear, it's empty. Plus, this is and, because and or, they're different arguments. Self queue means there is a pending message. So in this case, we move on to the next one. If there's no pending message, we cannot move on, right? Then you update the self current message into the next message in line. So not the latest, because the latest will show up, the latest. So what you put in first will have to show up first. So to do that, we put self queue, and then there's a pop function. Pop means from this queue here, there's a list of strings, and the oldest one, you pop it out. You take it out, and you put it in here. And pop function automatically deletes as well. And whatever in the first position, in programming language, whatever first is always 0. This means, I'm going to add a little description here. Remove the oldest, what came first, message, and put it in the current message. This is what it's saying. So to use this class, then how do you actually make something? So we need just one variable for this one. So let's make a empty variable, message system. We just need one. We create this by calling message system, basically, like that. So what this does is this new variable here, it's going to be following this formatting. This variable message system here has this formatting. So once that variable is defined, then we can add something. So for example, message system dot add, there's a lot of functions that we created. If you want to add, where's add here? It's add here. You have to put in what to add. So you open it, and you have to put something in here. So how about we kind of go down and welcome to Pokemon Battle. I'm going to delete this one, and I'm going to put it in here. So here, welcome to the Pokemon Battle. So then add means it's going to be in the list. So here you add the text, right? Then it will be in the queue, and when it's time to draw, that text is going to be displayed in this coordinate here. Oh, I forgot the colon here. Actually display this now. I want to display this using the message system now. Then let's do it temporarily here. You would want to call our variable. It's not the class, it's the variable that created. And you have to update first so that what's stored is set to the current message, and you draw. Draw means just display. Run this, then you see the welcome to the Pokemon battle right there. We have a working message system, and we tested it. We can move on to the next element. So next one is going to be the buttons. We have to display the buttons. And since we're clicking separately, instead of displaying all at the same time, I will create a class that creates one button. Okay, so this one we're creating one button, but it's still a class. Why is it a class? Because we're drawing a rectangle, and inside there's going to be the name of the move, so those are a set, right? So let's create buttons for a move. And we define a class here. We're going to just call it a button. And always when you create a class, you have to define under double score init and self to store the parameters. And what parameters are we taking? We need the coordinates. Where do we put the button? As well as what is the move name? It's like a string, but it's not a sentence. It's some letters. So we need those parameters to create a button. And here, the text goes here. I'm going to save it here. So if you do not define again this way, then this text as a parameter will be lost. So we have to store it this way. And also x and y we need to store. But I'm going to do it a little bit different way because this is a variable name, rect here. I'm going to use, this is a capital rect. So this is a little different from the small letter rect. What this is this extracts the information required to draw a rectangle. These are the parameters. And what are these? So x and y, these are the coordinates, and this is how big. So it requires 4 parameters, and I'm going to treat that as a set. So if you do the capital letter rect, you can put in the 4 coordinates and you can store it here. So for example, these xy parameters, I'm going to save it here because if you see up there in the rect, where was that again? Sorry, I can't find that. Oh yeah. So if you look at it here, this is the coordinate first and then the size, right? So I have just given the coordinate, and then the size. Size, I don't know. I'm going to just say 410, 100. So when we draw now, we can define the drawing function here based on the parameter that we stored in the variable self. So when you draw a rectangle, you do pygame dot draw dot rect. It's a small one this time, and it follows the same formatting as before. Right there, when we created the HP bars, it's the same thing. We write it on the screen. It's a variable that we made on day 1. And the color of the button, I'm going to say it's RGB, so I'm going to do something like that. And I'll have to change this later. I have no idea what this color is, just teal, I'm assuming. And here, you're supposed to put XY coordinate and the size, but that information is stored in here. So I can just say self.small rect. That refers to the whole set of parameters here. And another one that we haven't done yet, it's creating a border. So I'm going to create the same thing here on screen. And this time I'm going to create a border. So I'm going to make it black like that. And then same thing, self rect like that. And then I'm going to write 2. So what does this do? So there is a additional parameter in the second line here, and this is the width. So if you do not define the width, this is 0 automatically. So there's no border. So if there's no border, it's going to fill everything with this color. So the first rectangle is just bluish, no border, just rectangle. Next one, since I define the width, it's not going to fill with that color. It's just going to be a border. So this is the blue borderless rectangle, and this is just the border. Okay, and then we're going to have to display this in the screen. And screen blit requires what's called surface. So surface, this must be some kind of, if I may, like an image. So I can't directly put self text here. So we have to create a temporary variable. And if I use font render, this becomes a little bit like an image, but this is a text. So this font render creates from text to image type deal. And anti-aliasing is going to be true. And then the color will be 0, 0, 0, like that. This text in black will be created as like an image. So now we can put it in here, txt, so it's like an image file. And the next parameter is the coordinate. So what I'm going to do here, this image, I want this to be at the center of the rectangle. So imagine a button, and this text tackle quick attack will be at the center of the button. So how do you do that? You can do this by doing this. Just bear with me. Let's say it's creating an invisible rectangle around that image file text, that tackle, for example, and moving that towards the center of the rectangle. And now we have created a button class. We can make the 4 buttons already. So let's say button 1, and we're going to say it's a button class. So I'm going to create like that. And we have to put a coordinate here. So let's do an A40 position. And then I'm going to write tackle here. So when we create a bunch of moves, this can be changed into something else. So like a reference parameter. But for now, we're going to just create it this way. So there's going to be 4 moves. Button 1, 2, 3, 4. Typically, it starts from 0 in programming, but we'll call it just this way. And I want the buttons to align in a line. So I kind of did a little pre-study here. I think these positions will give us a pretty good, neat-looking buttons. So since this is right shoe, I'm going to do Thunderbolt, and then probably take down with the recoil damage, and button 4, use berry. And I'm going to do this later, but I'm going to give 2 berries. And this times 2 will change. Actually, let's do this later. To draw this, we can temporarily put it here. With using, let's do button 1, 2, 3, 4 all at the same time. So button 1 and draw, that is what we're doing. And we're going to repeat for all of these 4. And note that all these buttons have a different position, so they're not going to be overlapping. When we run this, you're going to see some buttons here, but you can see that it's too big. So we need to adjust the size here. Perhaps not 100, maybe 80. And I think it's too wide, so let's do 300 and try again. So 225. Yes, now it's pretty good looking. So we can click on these later, but on top we can still see the message. So what I'm looking for is I'm going to display what will Raichu do. I want to display that, and the buttons are down here. It's a little bit more green than I thought, but I think the color works pretty well. So today we created a message system and the buttons, and next tutorial we're going to create some moves and some battle related mechanics and some button interactions. Yeah, so I'll see you in the next episode.